Logical air to our lecture tonight here in the library once again. Very cold, weather just hasn't lifted at all. I'm glad you could all make it here this evening. I went for a walk yesterday evening just up the hill there and I've more clothes on than Scott at the Antarctic. It's unbelievable the way things are going. Anyway, just a few little housekeeping items. Mobiles set them to silent, if you would please. In case of a fire or having to leave the building, just through the doors, up the steps and to your left or to the right hand side. I think we're all familiar where they are now. But if anybody should, we'll all run anyway. We'll be forced out. Anyway, next, just you all know Michael. I'm sure many of you were on the trip to Baldon, a fantastic day out we had last year. And Michael here is with us this evening, and he's going to present. He's going to present an item on Gallipoli. Well, not a holiday spot. So without further ado, Michael will.
Thanks to the Tallaght Library and to the Tallaght Historical Society for inviting me back to do another talk. This one's on Gallipoli. 2 years ago I was brought to Gallipoli on a historical and military history tour. I'm a great student of military, well I'm not a great student, but I'm a student of military history. 2 years ago I was brought to Gallipoli, and last year I was brought to France and Belgium to view the battlefields. And this year hopefully I'm going to go back for a few days again. But the two years ago when I went to Gallipoli, it was a very profound experience. And I wrote a book just before that trip, Allegiance of Compromise, which was published by the Tallaght Library here, South Dublin Libraries. And I wrote a passage in the book about the Gallipoli landings there in April 1915. And a few months later I actually went to the place I wrote about, and I walked on the beach where this scene happened here, and it was very enlightening. And it didn't actually change the way I thought about the whole experience of those guys, but being a soldier myself, it made me realise how unsurvivable that whole process was with them. So I'm going to read that passage to you in a few minutes. But what I'm going to do tonight is try the Anzac, the Gallipoli landings in April 1915 and also in August 1915. It's kind of been taken over by the Australian and New Zealand story. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but there was lots of other troops involved. There was Indians, there was Africans, there was Gurkhas, lots of Irishmen fought there, and lots of them died. And this year, in 1913, on the centenary or the decade of Remembrance and anniversaries, I think it's important to remember those people who fought and died there almost 100 years ago. So what I'm going to try and do is focus mostly on the Irish story. I'm not trying to negate what happened to the other nationalities. It's vitally important what happened to them, including the Turkish soldiers. But what I want to do is talk about the Irish soldiers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk for a few minutes and give you a bit of detail about the whole Gallipoli campaign on the map there. What I'm going to do is show you the map there. I'm going to read you for a few minutes from the passage, and then I'm going to show you about 50 slides, so hopefully you don't fall asleep. And then I'm going to read 2 poems, because I'm a poet as well, and I'm trying to be a poet. Now, the name of the lecture tonight is The Irish at Gallipoli, and if anybody knows any of Francis Ledwidge's poems, he wrote a poem called The Irish at Gallipoli, because he fought with the Irish troop in Gallipoli. He was the Inniskilling Fusiliers, and he was injured there, and he wrote a poem called The Irish at Gallipoli. And in 1917, after Gallipoli, he was killed in action on the Western Front. Sorry, the frogs are little. He was killed in action on the Western Front. Here I went to his physical grave, and I have a photograph there too. Big affair. Almost be like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you his poem. I'm going to read you a poem I wrote after my visit to Gallipoli, and then I'm going to show you a 2.5-minute clip which was made a few years after the Gallipoli landings for a movie and part of it's for a documentary. You may have seen it on YouTube. It's for a film called Tell England. It's black and white footage of a reenactment of the V Beach landings, and it's very emotive of what happened there. I don't know if you've seen it, but hopefully it will work at the end. By the way, we got this map made last year, 2 years ago, before I went to Gallipoli. That's Tony Rowe in the back there. He brought some material for you to look at tonight at the end of the lecture. There's some bits and pieces to look at there. There's some 3D photographs in a book of the Gallipoli landscape as it is now. You'll have to wear the 3D glasses, I'm afraid, to have a look at the photographs, but it's pretty good. And there's some handouts on the chair there. Yeah, correct. And there's other bits and pieces to take away. And just before we go, this chap here, what's his name again?
Christopher Dixon, my father.
Christopher. This lady's father, Christopher Dixon. I know this lady. She's from, you're from Tala, aren't you?
Yeah.
This is her father. He was injured in Suvla Bay in 1915, 10th Division with the Inniskilling Fusiliers. He fought with there to me, so just so that he's not forgotten, because they have been on that photograph there. As you can see, he's injured. He lost his elbow in the fight. Let's have a look at that later on. Okay. What's his name? Did you say?
Christopher Dixon.
Christopher Dixon. Okay. So there we go. So to start off with the exhibition, so hopefully this wasn't just the way I had it planned. So this is the map of the Dardanelles chain, and just get that thing out. As I said, I'm going to show you the map, and I'm going to show you some slides, the poems, and the footage. This is the Dardanelles Straits here, okay? And they wanted to open up a supply route to Russia, okay, during the war. The Western Front, as you know, the war started in 1914. The Western Front had become stalemate because of the trench warfare that had come into play there. They wanted to break the stalemate on the Western Front. So the British government wanted to open up a supply route to Russia into the Black Sea. It was too far to go around other routes, so the British Navy sent the British Navy to the Dardanelles to open the sea routes up into Russia. The Dardanelles Straits were the quickest route into Russia here, so we're going to send them. You have to break the blockade into Russia here. The Black Sea is just up here. You see the Black Sea here? Sea of Marmara, and here's the Gallipoli Peninsula here. Okay, so you're going to go up here. All these dots here are mine lanes, or mine. Sorry? Minefield, yeah. So basically, you want to know the sea routes or the supply routes to Russia. And basically, if they could get Russia into the war, or they could supply Russia, it would bring either the countries that were in the Balkans, who were already in the war, into the war on the Allied side. The Ottoman Empire was up here, the seat of the Ottoman Empire was up here in Constantinople. So the Allied plan was to send a naval fleet into the Dardanelles Straits to basically take the Constantinople, knock Turkey out of the war, the Ottoman Empire out of the war, supply Russia, and then the United States that were in the Balkans would hopefully come into the war on the Allied side. The war, this operation was a failure. The whole Gallipoli campaign was a failure. The whole 9-month campaign was a failure. Okay? What happened was they sent the naval fleet in here. As you can see, this peninsula here, the Dardanelles Straits go up here into the sea, in the Black Sea. Sea of Marmara here, okay? But just here where the narrows is 1.5, it's a mile and a half, isn't it?
About a kilometre
Kilometre across. And along here you had fortifications. All the sea lanes are mined. The ships are going up here. In February, is it March the 18th? March the 18th was the big day for the fleets to go up here. And basically the naval fleet, the naval ships that went up there, they were either shelled out by the naval forts, or the submarines sunk them, or the mines sunk the ships. It was a failure, but we still needed to take the forts. Okay, they went from the sea operation to a land operation to bring the troops into Gallipoli, to take the forts and secure Constantinople instead, because of the sea thing was a failure, okay? And we have that light off the other slides. Can we knock off that light there? You see that okay? Yeah. What we're going to do is concentrate just on the land thing, okay, and on the soldiers. So the main defence on it would be the 25th of April 1915, which would be the Suvla Bay landings, and the Cape Helles landings, Fee Beach and all that. Then there's the Anzac Cove, which is the Cape Helles as well, but it's on the coast there. And then in August you have the 10th Irish Division landing at Suvla Bay. Just hope it's the right one here now. So, but by the way, just before we go, this is the SS River Clyde. Have you heard the SS River Clyde?
Yes.
Okay, basically, it's going to convert to collier, okay? And this is a somewhat very idealised picture or painting of the SS River Clyde landing at Fee Beach, which is right down here at the end of the peninsula. Okay, and what they had to do, basically what happened was, you can see these holes here on the side of the ship. There's 1, 2, and there's 1 there, 3, and the same on the far side. Well, this ship here was converted to collier, and it was packed up with 2,000 soldiers, mostly the Royal Munster Fusiliers, some of the Hampshire Regiment, and some of the Royal Dublin Fusiliers. And the idea was that they would crash this ship onto the beach, okay? And these lighters would come along at the same time and would kind of form a pier from the boat to the beach. These soldiers would vacate the boat, and the guys inside the ship would come out down these kind of gangways. You see them? Run down these gangways onto these boats. You probably know this story. Come onto the boats and then onto the beach. Now, Fee Beach was there 2 years ago. See these rock, these kind of cliff faces around here at the back? They're not there. It's a wide open sea you're coming into, and the beach itself is a dish shape, very, very narrow, and high ground behind it. And when they came in, basically they were up against it. It was high, very, very well. I'm going to show you all this in the film. It's very well defended. The guys coming off the ship, 2,000 of them came off that ship, or 200 on the ship. Only 1,000 are off during the day. Of the first 200 that came off, they reckon only about 40 got to the beach alive or uninjured. Okay. But this is a very important story. Okay, before I go any further, just to let you know, these are some of the widely estimated numbers or figures for the whole thing. There's a total of 480,000 Allied troops involved on the Gallipoli campaign. We started on the 25th of April 1915, and they were evacuated on the 16th of January, or sorry, the 9th of January 1916, which in 1915. The anniversary of that was only 3 weeks ago, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, and the 25th of April 1916 was almost a year to the day before the 1916 occurred. The revolution occurred in 1916. British, Canadians, Irish, Gurkha, Africans, and others. Okay, there was also lots of civilian. The wrong word is coolies, but you had civilian labourers. Okay, I think some of them were Chinese, and there was Senegalese and all that kind of thing. But most of this story is remembered because of the national identity, which Australia only kind of unified. I think it was 1910, yeah, a few years before the First World War, anyway. And Australian and New Zealand identity was brought together, and their national identity was kind of inspired, and it's the great function of their national identity ever since this has been because of what happened on the 20th of April 1916 at Suvla Bay. Okay, so all these other nationalities, the Australian, New Zealand, their identity has been. With the 11th of November is Armistice Day for everybody else. Remember the First World War. There's the 25th of April. It's a big thing for them. We have forgotten about it, the rest of it. The Irish have forgotten more or less what happened in the First World War up until recently, and more or less what happened in Gallipoli. It's not really remembered. There's 3 main assault sectors, as I said, what we'll be dealing with anyway. It's Suvla Bay, Cape Helles, Anzac Bay, and Suvla Bay at the top. That's down there. Anzac was part of the Helles operation. Suvla Bay, okay. Of those, they were included. There's lots more regiments and divisions, okay, but just what we're dealing with is the 29th Division, which is Cape Helles, April 1915, which attacked down here on Suvla Bay. The units, the Irish units involved there were Royal Dublin Fusiliers, Royal Inniskilling Fusiliers, some of them Royal Munster Fusiliers. Then the 10th Irish Division attacked at Suvla. And the 10th Irish Division was commanded by General Sir Brian Madden, and he kind of stood down because he didn't get promoted when there was a readjustment at the top command, and that he was replaced by Major General John Longley. You can see that there. And then the Irish regiment that fought at Suvla Bay was the Royal Irish Regiment, the Royal Irish Rifles, the Connacht Rangers, the Royal Munster Fusiliers, Royal Dublin Fusiliers, Royal Inniskilling Fusiliers, and the main engagement there were landing at Suvla, the Battle of Sarryberry, the capture of Chocolate Hill and Hill 60. But some of those troops also landed on the positions on Anzac Cove where the Australians and New Zealanders had been, okay? Here's some of the casualties after the 9-month period. Now, some of these are up and down, depending on where you go, you get different figures. But these are a percentage of the World War casualties as a whole as well. Australians who died, 15% of the World War I total, 8,700, you can read it for yourself there, wounded 19,441. The British here, this is where the Irish figures would be under, 21,255 died, 3% of the World War I total, wounded 52,000, total 73. The Irish figure will be in there somewhere, okay? There's also the Indians and all that. And there's your Turkish. If anybody's been out there, they'll know that they're still washing not bodies, but remains of down from the gullies. So the figures are out the window, okay? So this is it's not a better map, but it's a bit more detailed. Just to see a marmot, the straits are here, okay, going to the Black Sea, up there, okay? This is the Heli sector. You see the black line there? That was in glasses right all over the place. Okay, this is Suvla Bay here, and this is the Anzac Cove here. Yeah. Anzac Cove there. Yeah. So these are the three sectors. Okay. I think this black line is as far as we got here. This is the forest the Allies got here, and that's the forest we got here. Okay. You can see the hills. See the gullies into the hills there, it's very big. There's Turkey up here, this is the side, this is the Asian side, that's the Narrows there, you can see how tight it is, the ships have been in here. The Allied ships went up here in February and in March. And in March they were pretty well annihilated. They called off the naval attack and they went on to the land attack. The Turkish were very clever. They pulled back their fortifications. They had mobile artillery guns and fortifications. The Allies couldn't get their ships down here, but the Turks could fire long range. When they actually sent in submarines to go in underneath into the Black Sea, into the Sea of Marmara. They were very they were successful enough to shake up the Turkish. They sunk a few troop ships. One in particular was commanded by an Australian submarine commander. I think his name was Boyle or O'Boyle. Is that right, Tommy? O'Boyle?
Yeah, submarine 21.
Yeah, E-21 submarine commander. And although he didn't hit any high range targets, he shook up the Turkish defence because he was hitting targets, and then he pulled back some of that big ships and that, okay? So you can see that the gullies, these mountains and these high range cliffs and gullies are starting almost at the sea. This is some of the modern day shipping. I took this photograph when we were there 2 years ago. That's very modern there, all the landscape there, but this is from, I'm not sure if this is when we were on the Bosphorus side of the river. It's connected, but it's very, you can see that's pretty close there, you know, so you can imagine if there's guns on that side and guns on this side, and the ships going up and down there, that's easy pickings. At one stage they also had a high strength metal chain going across the river there to catch the shipping and the mines. Actually, one or two of the ships went up and turned thinking they were getting away, and one of the Turkish ships actually strung a line of mines right into the coast, right into almost in the beach. And when the ships turned, thinking they were getting away, because they went into the coast and into the side of the river there, onto the bank, they actually hit the mines. Very clever, you know. So just to go down to the V Beach lands, this is the peninsula down here. Okay, and on the 25th of April 1915, the 29th Division was taken from, the 29th Division was basically units comprising full-time soldiers that were out basically defending the Emperor. You had the Royal Dublin Fusiliers, the Munster Fusiliers. I think the Munster Fusiliers were in Rangoon and Burma. All these units were given early warning that the war had started, you had to come back, but you had to wait for the territorial units to be you know, the way the soldiers would be on recall after they left the army. They were brought back in and sent over there, and the Emperor. Full-time units were brought back. They were brought back to England in preparation to go and fight in France, but they were told they were going to fight here. Okay, so say this is the peninsula. This is the end of the peninsula here. And this here is V Beach, W Beach, X Beach, and this is Mortal Bay where the French landed. That's a battery there, okay? So basically you can see the shadows here and the V Beach landing here. You see the way it's kind of, this is where the Irish troops landed, it's in a kind of a, how do you say, there's a point on it, right, but it's actually in a this shape. The ground goes up like that, but you can have defences on each side. So if anybody has any military experience or not, or you've read up on history, when you've got fellas firing at you from both sides, it's pretty dangerous, you know, and especially since they're firing at you from the heights, you're in the bad end of the lane, you know, and these guys come off the ship and they're getting hell from all sides. But the Turkish defences are very good all around here, but the Irish guys and the Hampshire regiment that landed here didn't really have a chance. Okay? So this is the River Clyde after the action, okay? So if you can read that there, can you read that bit of text at the moment? Yes, that's River Clyde, which loaded with troops was running short on said Elbar here. She is known familiarly as the wooden horse, an allusion to the famous and somewhat similar expedient of the Greeks at Troy. Now, Francis Ledwidge, when he was sailing up in August 1915 to land at Suvla Bay, and some of the other poets from the English tradition, or English writers, spoke about this because when they were sailing up, they were actually sailing past where Troy was on the Asian coast. Okay, and they said this didn't really, like, how to say, this was kind of funny to them because the story of the Trojan horse and what the whole symbolism of that wasn't lost on what had happened here in Suvla and B Beach in 1915 in April. Okay, basically you can see the sally points here on the ship. You see this bit of stones here, and there's the what you call it, the lighters on the boats on the water. Okay, this bit of stones is still there. When we went there 2 years ago, I walked out onto those stones. I walked right out here and I stood where I thought the tip of that boat would have been. And I stood there and looked in and took photographs. And because I'm in the army a long time, I thought myself, how would I have survived this? Looking at the high ground on each side, and I thought myself that I wouldn't have survived it. And if I did, there wouldn't be much of me left, knowing what I did about what happened there, you know. Now, if you see up here, you had some defences on the front of the deck in here, okay? There was artillery rounds being fired at this. There was apparently 6 machine guns on the ground firing at them. There was troops, there was massive defences. One of the artillery rounds that was fired at this didn't explode. It hit the decking, scraped along the bulkhead, hit some of the rigging. It was so hot that it was melting the decking and some of the metal works on the ship, and then it flung off out into the water. The guys that were coming off the gangways onto the decking, the lighters were being shot to bits. These fellas are falling into the water. A Royal Flying Corps airplane flew over and sent a report saying that the water was turning red. Okay? Now this is a sketch written or drawn by an Irish officer from the Royal Munster Fusiliers. And this is what he saw. This is the boat. And I think he's thinking in kind of 3D. This is the boat he's on the River Clyde. That's the Cedel Bar here fortification here. And this is the high ground on the left. That's the beach. And this is the high ground here. I'm going to show you a photograph in a few minutes. Okay, and this is what he's telling you with the fences there. Turkish, I don't know. Can you see what that says there? Anybody? Anyway, hard to see there. We're talking about machine gun positions, barbed wire. Oh, yeah, all this is barbed wire here. Okay, they tried to degrade this with artillery work. It did work to a certain degree. One of the objectives was to take this and work their way in. The troops landed and they were annihilated. Okay. The Royal Munster Fusiliers come off on the right hand side. The Royal Dublin Fusiliers, most of them were in the boats and some of them were on the ship. And the Hampshire regiment come off there. 2,000 on board the ship. Okay? I'm going to read the patch now. 2,000 on board the ship. They couldn't get them all off. They got 1,000 off on the fourth day. Of the first 200 that came off the boat, only 40 made it to the beach. Okay? Now I'm just going to read you something here. Okay. So, the soldiers who were fighting, who came to fight Gallipoli were like me, like you, like your sons, your husbands, whatever, like at that time. fighting for a cause, fighting for economical reasons, whatever. But anyway, this is a passage I wrote for this book. By 1915, a young soldier of the 29th Division and hundreds of his comrades in Cork, Galway, Wexford, Belfast and many other places in Ireland and Britain find themselves aboard a merchant vessel, a converted collier named the River Clyde, on approach to V Beach at Suvla Bay. I got that bit wrong, because I hadn't been there. As part of the Allied assault on the Turkish positions on the Gallipoli Peninsula. All the heroic gestures, the idealism, the love of Ireland and his conscience battling over what it is the right thing to do, all the flag waving and back slapping as he boarded the train on the start of his long journey to the place where he finds himself now. None of this has prepared him for what he is about to experience. This British soldier, this young soldier of Ireland, moves slowly along in the sluggish procession from the darkness into the bowels of the ship's cargo area. One man behind the other looking dead ahead, all weighed down with weapons and backpacks and kit. He catches glimpses of the brightest lights flickering and jumping from metal walls to metal bulkheads to the absorbed faces of innocents as the ship swayed. He wonders what it is like outside in the fresh air and where exactly he is, and how funny it is that he finds himself somewhere halfway around the world, near Greece, on a job for Ireland, when he had never even left his hometown before. The ship comes to an abrupt stop, and the sense of urgency is intensified. Now the soldier can hear orders and commands being barked, and the human cargo as it lines out in front of him. The plane begins to move a little faster along the narrow walkways, up the metal stairways towards the surface decks of the ship, to the light, always towards the light. He longs to be outside in the light. Ahead of him, as he approaches the forward end of the ship's interior, are two great beams of light, like two massive headlamps, moving towards each other and towards the approaching cargo. He finds it hard to focus his eyes upon the light, and notices that the human procession is having the same difficulties as it passes into them, and separates in separate lines, but there is something else. He hears an intermittent metallic sound like dozens of small hammers impacting on the bulkhead at high speed, sometimes singularly, but mostly in long clusters of sound. The pace quickens towards the beams of light, and as the men up front pass through them, the soldier thinks that they now resemble portals, transporting the human cargo out of his vision to somewhere he does not know yet, but soon will. The pace quickens to an almost forced march into confined space, and as the shouting becomes intense and the soldier approaches the portal on the right, he is unceremoniously shoved through by one of the hunkering and barking cluster of men in uniform who are crowded on either side of the light. The metallic impacting sound is almost unbearable, and he is blinded as he passes through the portal, disorientated. What this young man of Ireland, this soldier, sees before him now takes his breath away. He stops for a moment to take stock of the images with which he is confronted. Fear and panic suddenly grip him. He is pushed down a wooden gangway from the portal, a large gaping hole cut in the side of the ship to allow the mass exit of troops, down towards a group of barges and smaller boats, which are tethered together from the front of the Clyde towards the beach. From the beginning of each portal on both sides of the ship, which descend from about 40 feet down to the plank-covered boats, the gangways form a kind of improvised pier upon which dozens of men are trying to cross onto the boats, sand and safety. The soldier trips over the man lying half on, half off the gangway. As he falls and tries to recover himself, the metallic impacting noise can be heard, but closer now, as if he can almost feel it. At the same time, almost as if movement around him is progressing in fractions, he notices sparks on the side of the ship. As the sparks are past the soldier's position again, suddenly the man directly behind him yells and falls from the gangway into the water far below. In shock, the young soldier looks forward, realising that he is under fire, and absorbs every minute detail of the carnage before him as it unfolds. Beyond the beach are high bluffs and defences where he sees groups of what look like men directing fire towards the ship, dispensing the cargo. To the right of the beach, atop the bluff, stands a block fortification. Murderous fire is poured down into the beach by Turkish machine gun nests and riflemen. This fire is joining together in a combined repetitive sheet of deadly lead, encasing the beach and the ships and the sea, and all the soldiers negotiating their way from the bowels of the Clyde to the base of the beach wall. Hundreds of men are running, drowning, spinning, crawling, dying, being cut to shreds. Thousands of short white spouts rise from the water or shoot out from its surface towards the beach. Some big and some bigger, as enemy bullets strike it for every splash all around the vessels. Resemble castles of clogged corals tethered together, tethered to the beach as men move forward to be slaughtered. The zipping noise of bullets spits the air thousands and thousands of times over and over again. Soldiers manning machine guns and rifles return fire from the forward edge, but they in turn are raked by eddies. Blood is spattered all over and pooling around the decks, rolling over the edge and down the sides of the massive metal hulk into the sea below. The sea, the all-encompassing sea. The blue and white water has become red as it washes in its new deliveries of human driftwood, being piled high at the water's edge. Men begin to take cover behind this human barricade. Their dead comrades will stop bullets that are meant for them. There will be time to worry about them later, time to absorb the unimaginable. The fortified walls and bluffs are being pounded by the shells from the naval ships at sea, keeping the Turks' heads down so the men can move towards cover and into the fight, but hundreds are being destroyed in such a small place and such a short time. Metal against flesh and guts. Men from the gangway are standing in bunches, trying to get to the boats to cross onto the beach. They are panicked, and many seem to falter and spin as bullets rip through their bodies. Lines and lines of men spilling and falling. There are ships in the distance. To the left and to the right of the Clyde. The water is still and reflecting a clear blue sky just beyond them. The glint of the sun upon the surface of the water blurs the soldier's vision of the seabed, and again, but he cannot see the water turning red. Bodies of the men with whom he had been climbing through the darkness of the ship moments before are broken together in the dozens in the water and along the shoreline and across the boats on the beach. Men are falling all around him, and among the chaos and noise he knows he must get off the gangway or he will die. He cannot go back through the portal. Men are still streaming through and becoming casualties, choking the gangway and boats, making them easy targets. The soldier holds his breath and runs pushing past the men in front, across the bodies of men in the boats, some screaming his name and crying for help. Finally he reaches the sand of the beach as large chunks of the wooden boat near to where he is riding are torn off and thrown through the air by Turkish machine gun fire. The sand is red and littered with bodies and cowering soldiers, his friends. He is lost in the horror of it all. The images he has witnessed being seared into his mind. Someone kicks him, yelling, "If you're not fucking dead yet, you can get your arse off the beach, get to cover by the bluffs and start fighting back." I got that off the D-Day Landings film there, you know. In shock, the soldier picks himself up and runs almost 100 yards down the beach, over the bodies of his comrades and through the withering fire. Bullets impact the sand around him, pierce his clothing and equipment, and he reaches the cover and waits for a moment until his heavy breathing subsides and he can hear his body. He has survived the first part and must fight and survive the rest. He has survived the landing on the Gallipoli Peninsula. He is a soldier of Ireland and he has come through his baptism of fire. What will his family think? What will the people back in Ireland think of his friends and him who are fighting and dying for the promise of Ireland in an English army? So basically those fellas who survived this and who survived Gallipoli had to come home after the First World War to survive that into an Ireland that didn't really want them. And by the way, of the Royal Dublin Fusiliers who landed in Gallipoli, fought through the whole campaign, only 11 of them survived the whole campaign untouched or unscathed. Okay? Now, when the troops landed on the beach, the Turks had dug massive pits on the ground here just behind the shingle. Okay, and they had put them into chicanes so that it made the troops coming up ashore run into these kind of avenues like this. It corralled them sort of. The barbed wire would corral them in, but you had the machine guns aimed on them. So hidden pits, you know. And on the barbed you had these kind of stanchions with mines on them, so that you blow them up as the lads got to them. Okay. So just around the beach here, there was where I think it was the Lancashire Regiment, the Staffordshire Regiment landed. They won 6 VCs before breakfast, but there was one guy here from the Munster Fusiliers called Cosgrove, and that's him there wearing his VC. What do we call him?
Victoria Cross.
But they called him something Cosgrove VC. Anyway, that's him wearing it there. But anyway, what he did was he came off the Clyde on the right hand side. On the second day, they were pinned down. I'm not sure what more of that in detail, but he basically saw what was happening on the chicane, on the chicanes there with all the barbed wire, all the troops getting butchered. And he went up there and he started pulling these stanchions out with the mines and clearing the path through. But these things were dug in. He pulled them up. He was a big man apparently. He started pulling them out like this, while the Turks were focusing on him with machine gun fire, and he apparently got injured. And he was taken out of the battle, but he got the VC for clearing the path through all this barbed wire. He pulled them up, throw the barbed wire in the stanchion on the ground, get the next one up, and then the last started following him, and eventually managed to get off the beach.
What was his regiment?
Royal Munster Fusiliers.
Michael, he was called the East Cork Giant.
Maybe it's a bit more. It was a big exhibition of First World War material, and you had some of his bits and pieces there. I think you had his tunic. He kind of had a bad life after that, but if you had his jacket there, it might well be good. But this is, I'm not sure what unit this is here, but this is to show you some of the ways they packed troops on onto the boats, bring them to Mudras on some of the islands, and then onto Gallipoli. Okay, this is the V beach landing. Okay, this is the spit stone that I told you, that's still there. I walked out onto that. Okay. Now that's said over here, Fort. Okay, and this is the high ground here. See that, everybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this photograph is taken. Remember I showed you the ship, the Clyde there?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember the front of it up here, looking into the beach. So the photograph is taken from the top of that, the top of the deck of the ship, looking towards the land. Now this is where the photograph is taken. If you look down here on the lighters, you'll see some of the soldiers that have been injured. Okay. Okay, this is another lighter here, but you look over here, this apparently is supposed to be soldiers huddled underneath kind of a 4 or 5 foot wall of clay and sand and shingle here where he huddles, and it's the only thing that saved their lives. You can see the 4 of them well pounded. Okay, if you look, I don't know if you can see, you see these white lines here? They're the stanchions, that's all the barbed wire stanchions. Okay, and you can't see it in there really too well. But when you come up here, you have to get over these obstacles. And then you had all these laneways dug in, these big pits that became the kill zones, okay? And up here is the Turkish defences in the fort up here. But over here there's high ground, so you're firing at them from all, like in this way, and firing at them from that way. And then there was artillery coming over. And basically, this all you had from here to here was to get all these troops onto the beach and off that. And you can imagine, even just the ships coming in, everything is just plowing lead at them, and when they got to the beach, you had to climb up that, And when I stood there, I realised that there wouldn't be much surviving. So this is the beach much after they've moved inland a bit, and they've kind of, the spit of stones is still there, the fort is just here. This is supposed to be the beach. Anyway, the cemetery that's down there was just here, okay? But you can see they brought in lighters. This is for the horses here. And they've moved in. I just thought to show you that to see how the supplies and the accommodation tents up here. Now the trenches were inland a bit further. This is all the logistics. There's another thing I wanted to show you there. These sort of things are bringing in for supplies. They also were able to get the injured onto stretchers on those kind of platforms there. Okay. Okay, this is just around that corner there was V Beach. This is I think this is W Beach here, and this is the day before the evacuation, the 8th or the 7th of January 1916. I just thought to show you this photograph because all this stuff basically was left behind when the Allies pulled out in December. But that's a shell landing there, a Turkish shell. Even though at certain times the Turkish Turkish were running short of artillery shells, especially when there was an offensive or a defensive thing going on either side. The beaches were always under fire, and a lot of the people, especially a lot of the senior commanders, were killed because of flukes or shells landing on that or snipers. Okay, but they left tons of material there, as you can see. Okay. This is the 5th Royal Irish Fusiliers in the trenches. That's some of the conditions they were fighting in. That's inland a bit, and that might be at Suvla Bay later on. But just to show you. Now, they didn't have steel hats until later on in the war as well. The trench helmets, you know. You see that okay, yeah? Okay. But they're not dead, they're just resting. But he's, usually, sometimes they'd be tasing the enemy, but they might be looking for where there's a guy shooting at them or a sniper. So he's putting the helmet up for the guy to fire at. And the guy down there with some kind of a telescopic sight or whatever, trying to find out where he's firing from, you know. And apparently they're supposed to be the Royal Irish Rifles as well. Okay, this guy here is called Simpson. Now he's an Englishman. I only put this in because Tony has some handouts on that. There's handouts over there to take away my guns. This guy here is Simpson, and he was in the he was with the Anzacs. The Anzac was the this is an Anzac Cove, part of the Hellas sector, but it's up further on the left-hand side, just up here. Okay, now he was an Englishman who went to Australia, I think it was, before the war, and he tried to get back to England to join them, but he couldn't, so he joined the Australians thinking he'd get back to England. Ended up in Gallipoli, and this is his donkey, and he was awarded a Victoria Cross to him, but he saved hundreds of lives with this donkey by going out into the battlefields under fire, picking up injured soldiers, putting them on that donkey, and bringing them back. And when we were out there last 2 years ago, we visited his grave, and he was killed later on in the war. I don't know, obviously he was buried out there, but he was a very brave man. He was very, a lot of legends about him, you know. I just thought I'd show you that photograph there, but I think that's a Turkish soldier he has on the horse. So this is some of the gullies that they had to fight in. Now this is taken from the high ground looking down the gully, I think. So when we got there and when the Australians and the Irish got there, as soon as you get on the beach, these gullies went up to the high ground. And the Turkish always had the advantage because they were looking down on the enemy. And in Tronic Bear, which is just around here, I think there's Tronic Bear, that was the high point that looked over all the sectors, and Kemal Pasha, who later became Ataturk, had a position there, and the German commanders. Basically, the high ground, because they had the high ground, they kept trying to put in the defences because the British were very slow, and basically they knew they were coming. But imagine having to fight through these gullies, day after day, month after month, to take the high ground. The thing about it is now, every winter there's flooding, the bad winters, and they're still washing down the remains of soldiers, Turkish and Allied remains. And I saw a photograph of that in a few minutes. I was doing some research on this 2 years ago, and I got in contact with this Australian archaeologist, and he had a film on YouTube, and I watched it. It was 3 hours long. But when we were out in Gallipoli 2 years ago, they're putting in roads behind the beaches now. The Turkish authorities are, right? And he was complaining that every time it rains, there's remains, bones being washed down onto the beach, onto these roads, and the buses are driving over and crushing the remains. And Tony, you found remains up there, didn't you? And buried it. But this is what is happening. And late last year, there was a big excavation went on up there. Australian and Canadian and English archaeologists went there, and he found lots of stuff that came out, but there's tons of it. I'll show you some photographs. That's a black and white taken from just after the fight, okay? This is taken just before the Suvla offensive, and this is what happened was the Allies and the Turks, there was so much bodies lying out on no man's land. It was really bad. There was a amount of flies. There was the fellas were dropping with diphtheria, and you name it, they were dying from all these diseases because of the flies, and the rats were huge. Anybody see the film Gallipoli with the younger version of it? You should get it out. It's very much focused towards the Australian story, but you can get the feeling of what it was like because of the amount of flies and stuff that was going on. You see the bodies are bloated there, you know. So what happened? The sides came out in the middle of no man's land on various sectors from the sides to take the bodies away and bury them. Okay, this is on Kanakale on the Asian side of the Darden of the Straits where we're staying, and this is a conglomerate of all the statues that are around the whole area. and put into one. Okay, so this is a Turkish soldier carrying an Australian who was injured. These are Australians and Turks. This guy here is a Turkish artilleryman who carried an artillery round on his back to fire at the because there was fellas getting injured and he hadn't got supplies, so he went off and carried very heavy shells. So over there, it's even a big thing for their national identity for the Fiji. Okay, he was put in charge of, and he'd already fought against the Bulgarians, I think, in that region before the First World War, and he was defending the Suvla, or the Heli sector in the Gallipoli campaign. And at one stage, the 57th Regiment were in retreat because he'd no bullets, no ammunition left, all he had was bayonets. And he said to them, I'm not ordering you to fight, I'm ordering you to die, his own men. And he made them charge down the hill at the Australians, and he turned the enemy. And basically, I think one of them survived to old age, but basically that battalion was obliterated, that regiment was obliterated. And in the modern Turkish army now, they do not have a modern 57th regiment in respect to those guys, because he ordered them basically to die. He says, I'm not ordering to fight, I'm ordering to die. In the time it takes us to die, more troops will come in to replace us. So that's how dire and close it was, the whole thing. Okay, this is Suvla Bay here. This is a very important photograph. And you can see these guys are looking up there, going, how the hell are they up there? But this is later in the operation. You have these piers in. These are the barges that they brought the troops in. In the film Mel Gibson, you can see them being rowed in at night time. They landed in the wrong beach, by the way. They were rowed in on these lighters. Okay, some of them are still there in the water. But this is, if you ever get the chance to look at that film, Gallipoli, it's very good for these. But look at that. That's what you had to climb. You had to land on this beach and climb up through those gullies, and then get to the high ground. They never did. That's why after the 9 months, even when you got to Suvla Bay, the whole thing was a washout, because the Turkish held the high ground. Okay, you see that, yeah?
Yeah.
Now we were down there 2 years ago, and just above the ground here on the right hand side is, just down the road is Ari Burnham Cemetery. That's Anzac Cove Cemetery. Oh, sorry, back to one there. This is this is just above the beach where I showed you a few seconds ago. This is a photograph we took. When the troops are coming in, the Anzac troops coming in, this is one of the features that he saw. All the Allies had, they couldn't pronounce basically the Turkish names for the landscapes and sites. This thing looks like something from Egypt, so they call it the Sphinx. It's a very famous landscape feature. Down in Suvla, Chocolate Hill, Green Hill, they're now cemeteries, famous cemeteries. But this thing here is called the Sphinx, okay? And just beyond there is where Trunic Bear was, or the high ground where the Turkish commanders were. Okay? The Australians had to land here and fight up the other side of that, okay? So there was various things happened. Like there was, the Turks were up here, they had a sniper up there, they had guys spotting all the way down, all the time they were down here trying to get up there, they were always in view. The Turks always had them, they could spot them who they were. There was a guy here telling them where to fire when troops were coming in. Eventually he copped that and he managed to shoot that sniper or that spotter that was up there, and he hung around there for months afterwards, decomposing. This is the Sphinx there, you see the shows that photograph centre around. There's the valleys and gullies. Okay. This is Ari Burnham Cemetery. That's the cross of sacrifice of the Commonwealth Wars. Some of you have been there, I know. This is just a part of the cemetery. Okay, and there's more of them now in that way, and there's 33 Allied cemeteries on the peninsula of the Greek Peninsula. Now it looks nice there in the sunny, but that we went there the 18th of March. The day after Paddy, the 18th of March we flew out there, and we were there for 3 or 4 days up in Istanbul, and we came down there, and I think it was the 22nd or the 23rd. We got down to Gallipoli, and it was cold. Oh my God, it was freezing for the whole time, wasn't it, Tommy? Unbelievably cold. And they landed there a month after, like back then, they landed on the 25th of April, they were there for the 9th of December, or 9th of January. In November 1915, they got blizzards, and the fellas died of exposure. Then they got a week of rainfall, and all the trenches came down, they were working on the trenches, 120 Allied soldiers drowned on the high ground, because the trenches filled in with water. And a lot of them were never found because the the trenches were covered in. So you have a lot of soldiers that, like, these are markers for individuals' graves. But there's markers there saying believed to be in this cemetery. Same out in France and Belgium, believed to be in this cemetery. Or we have a marker saying 30 Australian soldiers, 30 Irish soldiers. You know? And then when you go to the Turkish graveyard, this is Major Leslie Moore's head, 2nd Battalion, 1st Brigade. This is to show you some of the conditions. I couldn't find what Irish soldiers. This is Long Point. Somebody said you were in Long Point. Basically, if you read the caption there, I think this is an Australian soldier. That looks like an Australian, it's the backpack on it, but one of them is Turkish, as it says it there. Basically, Long Point Cemetery is now, Long Point Battlefield is now a cemetery. And it was very, it was fought over pretty much, but they look kind of stressed out, you know? Don't they? Look at the trench, the height of it, compared to him. No sandbags. Very well contested. So the point, this is the point. There was a point tree, a cone from point tree, taken from the battlefield in 1915 and brought back to Australia. Planted, basically the tree was grown, and then years later another cone from that tree in Australia was brought back to the cemetery and put in the cemetery, and that grew up. Basically, that's the story over there. So the Anzac Code, this pine tree, and the cones, it's a symbol of the national identity of what happened up there. Can you read that? Okay. Can you read it? Can I read it to you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This pine tree was planted on 25th of April 1990 by the national president of the Returned Services League of Australia, Brigadier A.D. Garland, AM. Or in the presence of Australian veterans of the Gallipoli campaign of 1915, so there was veterans there, pretty old men at the time. The seed for this tree came from a pine tree in Australia, germinated from a cone, back to Australia in 1915 by a soldier of Gallipoli. Today this tree commemorates the 8,700 Australians who lost their lives at Gallipoli, and especially those who fought and died at the Battle of Long Point. 6th and 9th of August 1915. Long Point is a pretty high piece of ground there, you know. And that's the pine tree there. That's the plaque you just read. And then behind here is the battlefield. I'm going to show you the battlefield now, and it's not much bigger than this piece of library ground. That's the battlefield there. So you can see the way the ground slopes off. That's the sea out there that slopes off that way. That's what they were fighting over, that piece of high ground, because when you got the high ground you could see the Turkish supply routes and move in. But that's what the reason was. The heli sector was to move in from the south, and the Anzacs would move in from the left hand side and cut off the resupply. They'd both meet in the middle. Okay, this didn't work out. That's where the Suvla Bay operation happened in August, so they would come in, and the heli sector and the Anzacs would attack, and then the guys would land at Suvla Bay and move in and would cut off the supplies from the Turkish, and they'd meet in the middle, you know, and disrupt the whole Turkish operation. But they never ever got off the beachheads. By the way, all these tablets here you see on the walls here, they're the graves, but these are the lists of the missing soldiers in the regiments. Okay. This is a Turkish memorial, which kind of looks over Cape Henry, so you can see it from, almost see it from the V beach when you go up onto the playground. I'm going to show you more of the V beach defence in a minute. Okay. That's Chunuk Pier. This is supposed to be at the Turk. You see this here, which is some of the trenches. Okay, that's the monument there. But basically the Allies were trying to get up because he could see everything from all the avenues of the Allied landings on both sectors at times. They took it once with heavy losses, and then it was handed over to very green troops who lost it pretty quick, and it was never taken again within a few hours. Okay, and even up there, do you remember, Tony? We were up there, and there's between that door and here, you might have 2 or 3 graves there, 4 or 5 graves here, and that's how far these guys got, you know. And years later, they found their bones and buried them where they were. Okay, so this is from where that statue was in Chunuk Pier, looking down towards Suvla Bay. That's the coast. Just down here is Anzac Cove, and just down there is Cape Helles. Okay, this is the Salt Lake. Okay, so this is where the 10th Tourist Division landed in August 1915. So you can see that the Turkish commanders can see what's happening down here. You can see what's happening down the Irish end, and you can see what's happening now. So you had a great view, you know what I mean? So it was very prime ground to take off the tugs. You never got to do it. But you had control and plan control at the time. Okay, I'm going to show you. This is an aerial shot taken from 41,000 feet. And I think it's from a Turkish fighter pilot. And I stole it off the internet. And I couldn't pronounce his name. This is the salt lake and that's the cut there, okay? So basically they landed in the same sort of style. Basically that's basically what V Beach down on Suvla Bay and Hellies look like, only smaller. But they landed in here and the troops had to march along. If you can imagine it's flat here, okay, but all here is getting hilly, okay? But they had to march along. The troops got off here in August 1915, they're not yet, and had to march through the Salt Lake, and basically they camped there because the general at the time, what's his name? Stockford, yeah. Was very, I don't think he was very good general, but the objectives were taken on the force, they were never actually taken. But the hills around, the Gallipoli hills, so Chopsy Hill, Green Hill, Summit Hill, they tried to take him in the end. And this is where your dad would have been injured.
Yeah.
Okay, taking the hills around that area there. That's Suvla Bay, and Suvla, like, the 29th Division landed in April and the 10th Division landed in August, okay? In Ireland at that time, we forget it now because you don't really know about it, but it was a big thing. The 10th Division was like the Pastor Battalion, we weren't Kitchener's army, okay? We took people from the same towns and villages, brothers and cousins and uncles, not as big as, they did it in Ireland. So there was lots of people from the same families, from the same people, same streets and towns were lost overnight. It was a big thing, and because of what happened the year later in 1916, these people never spoke about their experiences, what their families went through. But the name Suvla and Suvla Bay stuck in the people's minds, and there's been songs about it and folklore, you've all heard them, you know.
Yeah.
What's the name of that band with the man with the teeth? Hogs sing about it, you know. In 1916, they dug trenches in Stephen's Green to emulate what you've been hearing about in Gallipoli, because you hadn't really been getting the news from, but you had got from France, but it was the Gallipoli thing. You know this street, you're coming down by the central bank in Dublin, and you turn right to go up George Street at the lights there. You know that street there? It's George Street, West Dame Street, George Street, Wexford Street. William Street, that street there. Camden Street, yeah. Events like that kind of. Well, during the War of Independence, when they were fighting the British, the Black and Tans, that street that went all the way up there towards Baltic Street and all, that was called the Dardanelles, because it was very dangerous for British soldiers, because it was, if you ever walk up that way now and come to each junction, it kind of juts off to the right, and it's very good for throwing grenades or improvised explosives or shooting and running down the side streets. So the British soldiers named this the Dardanelles because they had their experiences out there, saying experiences. Things like that, you know. I'm not sure what that is. That's some kind of factory for the salt lake.
Processing factory.
Processing factory there, yeah. But this is one of the most heavily shelled places in Gallipoli while that operation was going on. Okay. That handsome dude there. Yeah. This is this is me, of course, on the 10th Division pennant and the United Nations flag and the Irish. 2 years ago, we were out at Green Hill Cemetery. Green Hill Cemetery was one of the hills behind Suvla Bay that the Irish Division, the Inniskilling Fusiliers, really were kind of chopped to bits on, I think. Here's the monument for we'll photograph you doing the same thing, Tom. But this hill led onto led onto Cemetery Hill, and it was part of Yanafarta Hill range anyway. But that was the front line, it was the force that the Irish troops, or the Allies ever got during that operation, or that offensive, okay? And it's now a cemetery. So the troops are lying in the spot where the force got. This is the 10th Irish Division, a part of it, leaving Collins' barracks. You know Collins' barracks in Dublin?
Yeah.
Okay, you know when you go in the front gate off the Lewis line, you walk up the steps only under the arch on the main square. That's the famous photograph. That's the now here. And there's this guy's looking at the camera, one or two of the guys. Did you ever see the real photograph? Can't see that, but and I think he went off to Basingstoke in England for a couple of months for a training, and he ended up going off. And basically, went to Gallipoli, getting chopped up there. The survivors went to, they ended up in the Balkans, fighting in Macedonia against the Bulgarians. Was it? A lot of them died, actually, a lot of them died of disease and fighting. If you have a look at this later on if you want, that's a piece of shell casing that a friend of mine brought back from the Balkans that was used to fight against Irish soldiers. And that's the acorn, the cone, sorry, from the Turkish cemetery in the shops there. 14861 Corporal R.M. Roderick, the real Dublin name, I think, Royal Irish Fusiliers, 10th of August 1915. Okay, age 25. The 10th of August 1915 was 2 days after he landed at Suvla Bay. And this is Greenhill Cemetery. So that was his first action, the second day of the war, and he's dead. His age 25. That's oops, this is the rest of his. But not just Irish Jews there, there's some other regiments there. But that's the main statue there. Okay, and this is the top of the hill, sort of looking towards the into the Turkish lines. Okay, and Mary McAleese, the year before that, was out there to commemorate the Irish soldiers. And didn't she lay a plaque or something there at that time? But that wasn't there when we got there for some reason. I can't remember, what was the story of that time?
The plaque wasn't there a week afterwards.
Was it not?
They had no planning permission.
He actually built a road out for the car to get out, or for her to get to that.
Yeah.
And I think the road was gone as well when we got there, wasn't it? Okay, so this is the Turkish cemetery, and that's the Turkish soldier bringing in a comrade. This is Kemal Pasha, or that's his work later on. He came out of Turkey after the war, and he was the founder of the Republic. These are all, I thought were all good. And basically, this is him this is a depiction of him up in Chunnaquare, looking over the battlefields with his staff officers, and therefore he's looking over his men, basically. These are, I thought, were graves. And what they are is memorials. And on each side of one of these, they're not graves. Each side of one of these are glass, but there's up to 30 or 40 names of individual soldiers. Now the graves are somewhere else. I never got to see them, but Tony showed me photographs. But the memory of them is very well looked after, you know. But there's absolutely thousands of those markers there. See? You just see some of the good text on there. And it's a beautiful place, very solemn. That's the thing. I was out in France last year, and the rock in the battlefield. The battlefields don't look the same. All the obstacles, the trenches are gone, but the graveyards are very solemn. But to walk along the battlefields out there, because it's the gullies and the ravines and all that, it's very emotive, like, you know, the ground kind of speaks to you, know. So back to Suvla Bay here. Oh, sorry, Kate Tellich, you know, just to show you some of the battlefield again. So this is, I was reading about the patches there. This is the Clyde that they're crashing into them. What they had to do was they were coming in. That's like hit the breach, coming in too early, and the commander had to stop the boat, not stop, but slow the boat down, turn it around out in the sea to slow it down, to slow the time down, and then come in at the same time the boats, okay, hit the ground as they can. The boats, he was so far away from the beach, the boats didn't reach this thing to make the link between the thing, between the top of the boat and the beach. So I think Commander Unwin jumped off the ship with another guy. I think he earned a VC or something like that. He jumped off the ship and swam to the nearest boat, took the rope or the barge rope and pulled the boats into a line and held them there while the soldiers ran down and watched them being shot to bits as this was going on. He was later sent to the Suvla Bay operation in August with most of the 29 division survivors. This is another depiction of that. As you can see, that's the Clyde down here. Okay, and this is supposed to be, I think this is supposed to be around the bend, but that's the high ground. It doesn't really look like that out there, but it just shows you. I think it's kind of a good depiction of the lads running off the boats and getting hammered. Okay, this is the beach. Again, okay, it's like the spit of stones is still there, but he put this temporary ramp thing around it for taking stuff off. All the supplies. And this is a shell landing. Always getting hit by shells, lots of casualties through the 9 months. This is a depiction of Doughty Wee. He was I think he was a major or lieutenant colonel, I can't remember offhand now. But he's running up the village behind Suvla Bay here, which is the fort on the right hand side of the beach. And he's the only guy he's the only Allied soldier who's not buried in a cemetery. kind of buried on his own, but he's not wearing a sword or anything, he has a cane. And Tony showed me his grave there when we went out there. He'd been a staff officer down in Turkey before the war, and he knew the Turkish, and he said, I think he said, they wouldn't kill me or something.
Convinced they wouldn't kill him.
Yeah, and he got shot or something like that. No, that's him leading them up through the town there.
I think it might have been the other way around, that he wasn't prepared to kill a Turk.
Oh, that's what it was,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that, yeah. Doughty Whaley, that was his, that's his grave there, just behind the village. And there was a bit of it, I think there was a bit of a twist, a lover's twist there. I read the story that his wife came out to see the grave a few years later and she met his girlfriend. Or his what was it called? So this is I thought I'd show these few pictures in. I'm not hopping too long, but this is the beach, the beach, okay, it's just on the left here. But this is a model that they put in up on the Turkish defences to show you, to show tourists. Now, Gallipoli is great because it hasn't really been impacted by tourism too much, especially down this end. But this is the area of the V beach landing. You can see it's a model, it's a massive big model in a glass box, okay? This is the Clyde landing on the spit stones. That's the fort there, okay? And up here will be the Turkish defences, okay? I'm going to show you that in a second now. But that's the barbed wire on the chicane trenches that they dug in. With the machine guns and artillery up here, fellas dug in up here and stuff from there, okay? And that landed here and the boats landed there, okay? Does that mirror to it? Yeah. Okay, this is the same thing. Turkish defence on the high ground. You see where it slopes down? Right, there's the artillery guns firing at the ship, machine guns firing at the ship. As the lads had to get off this. They were hiding behind this bit of a beach chicane or shingle here. Had to fight your way across the barbed wire. Couldn't get through. Your man was pulling the stanchions out of the ground. Okay, you can see. I don't know if you see that. Did you see these trenches here? Turkish trenches behind. That's Tony, who's sitting down there. That's just for scale. This is supposed to contain artillery shell holes from the Allied side coming in. You see the way it's peppered there. Okay, so just remember this kind of artillery gun here and this high ground here, because they're going to be taking time. That's where this area here is this where we are now, right? You see, that's the gun. And that's where the ship landed. That's the fort. Okay. This is the Irish cemetery at V Beach for the Royal Dublin Fusiliers, the Munster Fusiliers, and the Hampshire Regiment. I think there's some down there. This is where the barbed wire was, you see. That's an artillery gun. And where I'm standing taking this photograph, it's very steep. But those boys have to come in, try and get through those obstacles, but climb up through here if you could. And where the cliff is there, there's just water, you couldn't climb it, it's just a sheer. Sorry? No, that's V Beach, that's V Beach Cemetery. Green Hill Cemetery is up kind of up by, behind between Suvla Bay and Anzac Cove area. As I said, Doughty Whaley's grave, I think it's just up there somewhere. But I actually ran down from the bus to get down here to give me time, and I took off my shoes and I walked out, and I nearly broke my neck walking out on the stone to get the photographs looking in. I did as well. But the ship landed in here, you see, and I was getting pounded by this. You can imagine, like, if you just imagine you were firing from here as a Turkish soldier. I mean, they're firing at the ship and boats, and then as the soldiers got nearer to, picking out individual targets. But if you're a machine gunner, you have arcs of fire. Apparently, it's disputed whether there were 6 machine gunners there, but 6 machine guns will cover that ground easily enough. Interlocking arcs of fire, you know. You just mow the people down. This is a great photograph because this is the Clyde landing at the spit stones, which is there, okay? This is the barbed wire, which is just there. That's the cemetery. So you're looking at that piece of ground there, and that's what that great ground looks like. So these are the actual Turkish trenches, but they wouldn't have lasted like that for nearly 100 years, you know. They're green doing them up for the tourist trade. But we actually got down into them and taking photographs to see. But this is the Dardanelles Straits. This is what they tried to capture in February and March. And you see some of the villages got bigger. And this is a house here, you know. But all this was the battlefield where the barbed wire was. This is the cemetery. This is kind of just outside the cemetery now, looking up at the high ground towards where the Turkish machine guns, the Turkish artillery gunners was there looking down. So if you were an Irish soldier or a Hampshire soldier, well, the Royal Dublin Fusiliers on the left, so they would have been trying to get up that side there. So this is where a lot of the soldiers would have died or were injured. So this is me walking down towards the split stones, the second one, okay? That's the Hellies Memorial, okay? Up here is where all the Turkish defences are. That's the Turkish defence, that's the cemetery, no matter what the stones, the fort is just in front of me here. The River Clyde would have been parked in here. This would have been the killing area for the 29th Division, or the Royal Munster Fusiliers.
Clyde might not offer any firepower.
Oh, you had weapons on the, I can't remember, what's the front of the ship called? The Bay. You had machine guns on that. But to tell you the truth, if I was a machine gunner, I would have had me the metal in there because those someone apparently had them. It was very hard to fire. But those paintings depict machine gun fire coming from the ship. But anybody who's painting a ship, a piece of military history that is going to show that happening, even if they fired 3 bullets, you have to show you fired it because you have to show that you did it, you know. But I'm sure it was very hard to fire. Like, it took nearly 2 days to get the whole lot of them off the ship. Like, you know. That's the fort. Now this area here, I'm going to show you something in a few minutes. This area here is where the lads basically tried to take shelter behind this little piece of clay here. You see where it's raised up? I'll maybe finish the slides now, so don't worry. That's me out on the stone. That's the spit of stones there now. I nearly killed myself there. Okay, that's the cemetery, that's the Turkish defence, that's the model fort. This is where they ran in here and dug themselves in real quick. The survivors that managed to get across. The water is just here. They ran in there under fire, started digging themselves in behind that, trying to cover themselves from the fire that was coming at them from there. But the machine guns and the weapons were firing from each side. Okay? I have to get down, kind of down on me face to show you how the scale of it. See, if I didn't stand on it, that would have been down about there maybe. Out on the stone. This is me going. I'm going to the V Beach Cemetery here now. You know, the cemeteries are beautiful. That's me at the top of the cemetery. Now that's me. When I'm standing where I was there, looking down. The entrance is just here and looking out onto what the 18th Sea. Okay, over here you can see that piece of land. That's part of Asian, part of Turkey. All around here is Royal Dublin Fusiliers, Munster Fusiliers, Hampshire Regiment. Now later on, these troops moved in, and the Turkish, the French were based there. There was a friend of mine in Baldonnel, his uncle, or his great-grandfather, or his great-uncle was buried here, and we had a photograph of the grave, and they'd never been out there, and I managed to, just by chance I had taken a photo. You see the high ground there now. These guys died here trying to get in and take that ground. So this is just kind of up that way a bit more. This is the Cape Kelly's Memorial. Okay, this commemorates all the Irish, all of the 29th Division and naval service people who died in Gallipoli down the Cape Kelly sector. Okay, that's Tony there. And all these panels here, I've got lists of names of people who unknown graves or whatever, you know. And there was one guy with us, he was his uncle or something, and we managed to find, he's never went out there, we managed to find his name, was it Tony? And we managed, I went out there and get a piece of paper, and Tony had a pencil, and we managed to stencil the name on the piece of paper, and the guy broke down. It must have been in his 70s or 80s, he broke down crying. So that's the 9th Corps there, Suvla. 86th Infantry Brigade, you see them? These are all the divisional troops and the different units that were. Can you read that okay?
Yeah.
This is the inside of it now. Of that moment. Here's some of the Irish ones, the Royal Irish Fusiliers. These are all the individual names. Okay. This chap here was David Kennedy. And his uncle, one of his uncles was killed in France. But this uncle's brother was killed here. And we found, we agitated that we got to this graveyard, wasn't he, Tony? He was crying as well. That guy was in his late 70s or something. He was weeping that we found his uncle's grave. Because that's the legacy of that war. It's never been part of the culture here. It's been a legacy of, I don't know what it is. This is one of an Anzac Cove. This is one of the lighters. That's been left there. Every so often there's a storm, the sand is pushed off the beach and apparently you find these things here, you know. Sometimes you find remains. This is of the lighters with the injured. Did he injured on it? Okay, I said to you about what happened the year after the war in 1919, there was a delegation sent out to the battlefields of Allied officers and soldiers to look at how to bury the dead. When they got there, they found that there was unbelievable amounts of unburied remains all over the place. What they found was some of the remains that had been buried, the Turkish had taken over the area and used the crucifixes to burn to get heat. So none of the graves marked where it was supposed to be, that to keep themselves warm. But some of the graves had never been buried. And this is supposed to be Turkish, I think. But they went around on this inspection for a couple of years and they found lots of them good. An Irish historian brought out a book there 3 years ago called Field of Bones, about the Irish tentative Edwards region of the stuff photographed. This is what they were finding, gullies being washed down with remains, and it's still happening, not maybe on that scale. But 20 years ago there was a massive fire out there and they burned off a lot of the scrub up around behind Suvla Bay or in Anzac Cove, and they found what happened was they were looking through the binoculars in the 20s and 30s and they were seeing those parts of the ground were hard to get in the gullies, and they were saying, what's all those white things over there? And it turns out that there were piles of white bones being bleached in the sun. You know? But it still happened. There's thousands of soldiers still missing. Because this place still looks the same as it did then. This is on the Asian side of Turkey, across the far side of the Dardanelles. Troy is just down that way. Tony was saying get photographs, right? This is a photograph looking towards the Gallipoli Peninsula. So this is Morto Bay, and that monument there is the Cape Helles, and the one behind it there is the Turkish Memorial. That's Flea Beach, that area there. So you can see how narrow it is. The French actually landed here temporarily and were brought back away, but you can imagine anybody coming up there is prey for enemy fire. So this, I can't remember what that translates to. Can you tell me?
This side from the Asian side coming across at the Narrows, and it translated, it kind of means be respectful that the place upon which you stand is holy ground, you know, it's men lay their lives down there, basically.
Actually, the peninsula down here now is it's like a heritage party building. We don't build a house above a certain height. It's holy ground for the Turkish, but they also respect what happened on the Allied side, and there's great fraternity between them and the Australians and the thing. But this is Ataturk came back in 34 of them. 34. A lot of the veterans came back. But he said that this is what he said. He said those heroes that shed their blood and lost their lives, you are now lying in the soul of a friendly country. Therefore, rest in peace. There is no difference in the Johnnies and the Mehmets and with the Turkish soldiers. To us, where they lie side by side here in this country of ours, you, the mothers who sent their sons from faraway countries, wipe away your tears. Your sons are now living in our bosom and are in peace. After having lost their lives on this land, they become our sons. They become our sons as well. Okay. Now we've got lots of literature looking at the Anzacs and what happened. Now I found this very interesting. I think it's in French or something like that. I only speak English. Where it's prisoners, there's Turks, where it's depicting what happened at B Beach, but we think they might have got it wrong talking about. Okay, this is Suvla Bay depiction of the graves. As I said, the Turks were born in the cross to keep themselves warm during the rest of the war. And this is Francis Leverage. And that's me at his grave in Belgium. And that's me at the site where this is the tricolour at the spot where he was killed. There. Well, I just want to read you. There should be a handout there. This is it. I call this talk, I don't know, I hope you enjoyed it, but I call it after the poem he wrote. I call it after the Irish. You know the poem, do you? No. I'll read it out.
Yes.
It's called The Origin of Gallipoli. Where aging cliffs with bristling menace front, the threatening splendour of that oily sea, lighted by Troy's last shadow, where the first hero kept watch and the last mystery shook with dark thunder, hark the battlefront. A nation speaks, all silences are worst. Neither for lust of glory nor new throne, this thunder and this lightning of our wrath, waking these frantic echoes. Not for days our cross with England's mingle, to be blown on Mammon's threshold. We put war when war saved liberty and justice, love and peace. Who said that such an emprise could be vain? Were they not one with Christ who strove and died? Let Ireland weep, but not for sorrow. Weep that by her sons our land is sanctified. For Christ arisen, and angels once again come back like exiled birds to guard their sleep. Now,